Hi, everybody. I'm Jeanie LoVetri, and this is my show, Our Vocal Universe. This is a show about voice in all its many aspects. Voice as singing, voice as speaking, voice as writing, all kinds of ways that we can look at voice. And I'm very happy because here in New York, I have wonderful friends and colleagues who are involved with voice in their own lives. Today, I have a really special guest that I'm delighted to have, and I want to tell you a little bit about her. Her name is Jamie Leonhart, and she is a singer and a songwriter and composer who lives here in New York and has done a lot of different things with her voice. She's made voiceovers, which is the voice you hear on a TV commercial, and has done commercials for products like Betty Crocker and Tresemme. And she's also sung background for other artists, including singing with the band Steely Dan, and with artists such as St. Vincent, Judy Kuhn, and Paul Brill. She's been a featured soloist in the Metro Mass Gospel Choir and has performed at the 92nd Street Y in Lyrics and Lyricists in that series. Her debut record on the label Sunnyside is called The Truth About Suffering. And she is also, most especially in 2015, a commissioned artist in the New York Voices series, sponsored by the Public Theater and Joe's Pub, where she created a piece that we're going to see some of later today called Estuary, which is a one-woman show on the topic of being an artist and a mother. It's been performed at other places besides Joe's Pub here in New York at 54 Below, but also at the Kimmel Center in Philadelphia. And she is always very busy and currently going to go back to the studio to make a new recording. So I am very happy to introduce to you Jamie Leonhart. Welcome, Jamie.
Oh, thank you so much, Jeanie. I'm so happy to be here with you.
It's so great that you could do this. Thank you so much. I want to dive into how it is that you got to be where you are. I'm always interested in the path. You know, how does somebody start and how do they get here? So tell to us a little bit about what you did when you were younger that had some impact on where you are now.
Okay. I'll be pithy.
Okay.
Because it's a long history.
All right.
I started singing when I was 3 years old. Not officially. No one cared, but I did. My two siblings and I would record each other singing. We would play them back on our little record and play recorders, singing the alphabet, singing different songs. And I always loved the way it felt to sing. My grandfather, my dad's dad, was a cantor and just had the most beautiful voice, but also had this love for creating music and instilled it in all of us from a very young age. We all played instruments. We all had music running through our veins from, as I said, from 3 for me and similar for my siblings. But I didn't really start singing until I was in high school. And I was terrified of it and so excited to do it at the same time. Loved singing, but hated being in the spotlight.
You said you played an instrument too?
I did. I played the violin from 3 to 17.
Oh, for a long time. So you learned a lot about music from that too, right?
I did. I learned how to read music. I learned theory. I learned how to be accompanied.
Yeah.
You know, my sister played the piano, so we would do concerts together.
Nice, nice. Did you ever hear your grandfather sing a service?
All the time. We went to all the high holiday services, and he was singing all the time.
Wow.
He was a choir master.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's something I didn't know about you. That's totally
right?
cool. Yeah.
Wow.
So then you went to college. Did you study singing in college?
I did not.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. You would think that I would have.
I would think so, yes.
I went to school, to a liberal arts school. I went to Barnard.
Yeah.
And I started with the idea, this secret idea that I wanted to sing. But it was something that I don't think I had wholly given myself permission to be a singer. And that comes up throughout my whole career, so we can definitely touch on that.
That's a theme.
Yeah. And so I was a music major, but I didn't think, well, I should go to Oberlin, or I should go to Rochester, or I should go someplace else. I thought, well, I'm going to stay in New York, and Barnard's a wonderful school, but it was so challenging to try to find myself. I knew that I didn't want to study classical voice, but that was all that was offered, and it was a very small department. So I ended up singing for the joy of it, and I was in an a cappella group all throughout college, and I sang in groups in New York, when I wasn't in school. But my study was more theory and music history versus learning to be a singer.
Yeah, it's just sort of the around the edges, as it were.
Exactly.
So then, when did you go into being a professional?
Well, there was one step before that happened, in which I graduated from college, and again, like in my heart, in my gut, I really wanted to be a singer.
Right.
But as I said, there was such a fight within me that path was so scary, and I didn't really have anyone showing me that path. And so I applied to law school, and I got into law school. And it was about a month before money had to be put down to commit to being in law school, and I said, well, I really, really like the idea of it, but I don't actually want to be a lawyer, which is a problem.
Yeah, that could be a
big
problem.
And so then I thought, well, what do I want? And then I thought, well, I can do entertainment law, because then I'll be near the arts, but I won't, And I just thought, Jamie, stop it. Just stop it. Don't do that. Commit to yourself.
Yeah.
And so then I started singing, just looking for any work. I sang in wedding bands, and I sang in jazz bands, and I sang other people's music, and I just threw myself into it, terrified, but excited at the same time.
Well, but that was really brave, actually, to do something that you really wanted, but you were worried about. It takes a lot of guts.
And I think that's that theme comes up over and over again, too.
Yeah. And so the development was that, in a way, you sort of gradually got into going further and further and further. And so you write a lot of your own stuff. How did that evolve?
I do, and I'll credit going to Barnard for helping me become a great writer. Because I was an English literature major.
Oh, right.
So I loved the romantic poets, I loved literature, I loved, critical writing, and so I could take all of that and turn that into lyric.
Yeah. That's a good source, right?
It's a great source. I used to take a line of poetry from a poet that I loved, and then see what else I could make around that.
Wow.
Just exercises in writing lyrics.
Yeah.
And I guess because I had been singing and because I played the violin and learned theory, that I was able to find my way around writing the actual songs.
Yeah.
But I also love partnering with people who have incredible sense of chord structure and just are better at it than I am. And I'm not afraid of someone being better than me. I would like to learn from them or partner with them. So I wrote a lot of lyric and melody, basic chord structure, and then would partner with people, to continue writing material.
That's nice. That's kind of like the best of both worlds in a way.
It's great.
So then, there were professional jobs of different kinds that came, and you were doing really quite well and performing in places like Joe's Pub, which is a very, very important performance space here in New York.
Yes.
And then you got this invitation to write a commissioned piece for them. So what was that like?
Well, I'm going to back up just a few moments before that, or moments in my life's timeline. In that, after I had released the album that you mentioned earlier, The Truth About Suffering, it was my first full-length record, a record that I love. I really love it. I love the material that's on it. I feel very proud of it. And I got pregnant. And I wanted to be pregnant. I wanted to have a child. But I don't think I 100% took in how much different my life would be in having a child. And it was soon, I got pregnant soon after releasing that record. And so in a way, you know, I changed the course of my professional life right then.
Right.
You know, and Serena Williams is doing this amazing campaign right now about how hard it is to be an artist and an athlete and a mom.
Right.
And I mean, that's what Estuary is essentially about.
Yes.
I'll get there. But I thought, you know, wow, isn't that amazing that I felt that private struggle.
Right.
And now it's becoming incredibly public.
Yeah.
So I was writing and performing after I gave birth to Milo, but my brain had rewired and my heart had rewired, and I was having a really hard time just enjoying being an artist. And that was so terrifying because I felt like I had worked so hard
To get there.
to allow myself to really enjoy it. And I took a writing class when I was just a dry well. Like nothing, didn't care about what I was writing. And I took a writing class that was not music necessarily, but it was writing a one-person show with a bunch of other people. Gretchen Cryer curated the class. And I said, I'm going to write about everything except being a parent. I don't want to write anything about it. I'm not going to be a parent. These are my 3 hours a week myself. And of course, everything I wrote was about my relationship to being an artist and a parent. And that gave me 20 minutes of an idea.
Yep.
And so I went to the director of Joe's Pub saying, I have to do something in a different format.
Right.
I'm not sure what it is yet, but there's something that I'm missing. And in order for me to move forward, I can't just do another show, another gig.
Right.
And so she said, well, I've had you on the short list for this commission for a long time, and it's time for you to take this commission and write a narrative, a musical narrative of your experience.
Yeah.
And it was a real kick in the butt.
Yeah.
And I did it.
Yeah, you certainly did. You did a really amazing job. It's a beautiful piece. It's 75 minutes long, right?
Yes.
And it really does, I think, show not only the push-pull of these two roles that you have and that many people have, of parent and artist or parent and athlete, but I think it also illustrates a broader point, which is that you can be conflicted about any two aspects of your life that are both passions of yours that you really love, and they don't seem to always get along.
Yeah.
And so then I think that this work is it speaks to everybody, and so we have chosen some very tiny little slices of Estuary, which is the name of this piece, just to give you a tiny little sampling of what we experience when we go and see this beautiful piece. And so our first clip is at the beginning of the piece itself, and we're going to let you see that right now.
If all the focus is on the mother, the artist starts to slip away. If all the focus is on the artist, the mother starts to slip away. Focus on neither, and lose connection to both.
Estuary is a place where the seawater meets a river. It seems very peaceful on the top, but is really roiling underneath. And I thought that that was a really nice expression of artistry and parenthood together.
A delicate balance is disrupted by the rushing sea.
I felt that as long as I was as true and honest as I could be and didn't try to candy coat anything, then it was a story that really should be shared. It's given them opportunity to laugh about something that usually they wouldn't get an opportunity to laugh at. Who laughs at new mothers? Really?
Oh Lord, oh Lord, oh Lord, how can I get anything done? Oh no.
I collaborated on this piece with my husband, Michael Leonhart. He is the arranger and the music director. This piece is not just about me, it's about us, and it's about our family.
So we talked it over, worked through the doubt, and then he said, when we have this baby, I'll help you out.
No.
Yes.
No.
Straight out of his mouth, I'll help you out.
Well, that was wonderful.
Well, thank you.
And so that's quite a journey. And the image of the fresh water and the sea mixing together is such a beautiful image, and really is a very clear understanding of what's going on underneath is not necessarily what's on the surface.
Right, right.
Now that you've done this in different places, and there's a little bit of distance between you and having done it, how do you look at it from this perspective? Have you changed your thinking about either the piece or people's reaction to the piece?
I have edited the piece along the way, and that speaks to the question that you just had, how do I see it? Initially, I had, although it was my experience, I had been a little more in the third person, or that I was a narrator that had seen the whole thing, and although I'm going to tell you these moments that are sometimes incredibly funny, sometimes incredibly difficult, that I had the answers. Does that make sense? That I was almost sitting back as a narrator. And actually it was between, you've seen the show twice.
Yeah.
First run at Joe's Pub, and then again at 54 Below.
Yes.
I changed between those that I am actively in the show by the second time. So I got rid of some of the headier English major portions and got a little more in my gut.
Yeah.
And invested myself a little bit differently in the piece.
Yeah.
And it feels 100% different to perform it that way.
That's interesting. One of the things that I was so amazed by was your courage to be very open and share very personal, raw moments in your life through what you said and what you sang. And I thought that took enormous courage to be willing to share from such an open place. And then I'm thinking, well, once that's over, you step back and you have like, phew, that's done. But in a way, you're saying like you plunged into it further.
Yeah, definitely. And I thank you for saying that you felt the depth of it. My goal, my real goal, besides just getting all this information out, was also to be able to do it in a way that was not ego-driven and that wasn't a vanity project. Because really, I'm not diminishing this at all. It's incredibly important to me.
Right.
But it's a little bit of a first world problem. And in order to do this piece, I felt like I really had to put my gut out there and put everything that I'm afraid of into the piece, or it wouldn't matter.
Right, right. I think that the idea of being an artist and using your voice in a way that's hopefully generous, I mean, that is something that I think is important. It means that as you give it away, you have to give it without strings attached.
Exactly.
And I really feel that that's what you did in this piece, and that's one of the wonderful things about it. I'd like the audience to see another clip just a little further along in the performance, so we'll take a look at that now.
If the balance is upset, waters don't behave as expected, the sea will overtake the fresh water, resulting in unlivable conditions. But if they don't attempt to meet, the river doesn't join the sea, all will be
So that's a beautiful ending to this little clip. And we will have some information at the end of the show about your website. If people would like more information, they can go to your website and learn more about your work, all of your work, and about this particular piece.
Yeah.
You already mentioned that you do other things besides this. So let's talk a little bit about teaching. You are now teaching, correct?
I am. I do. Yes.
So let's talk about that.
Okay. So I teach voice.
Yes.
As you know.
Yes.
And the reason that I teach voice is because I learned so much about myself as a singer in taking voice lessons. I started out singing, as I said, I started when I was 3 years old. No one told me what to do.
Right.
And then no one told me what to do when I was in high school. And no one told me what to do really when I was early in college. And I could sing from my gut, and I knew I could sing, but I also knew that I lost my voice when I sang a lot. And I knew that I didn't have a regimen.
Right. Right.
And I didn't have an understanding of how my voice worked or when it didn't work.
Yeah.
And so when I started studying, I realized that all the attention that I'd put to learning the violin and where to put my fingers and how to turn my head and how to hold a bow, well, we were born singing, right? We're born making noise, so no one really is going to say, this is how you produce a sound.
Right.
But we do need people to say, this is how you produce a sound well and continuously, and this is why you're producing that sound. And this is what your mechanism looks like, because we can't look at it. We can't open up our larynx and look inside of it, you know? And so as I started learning more and more about my own voice, I thought, well, every singer should know this about their voices. And then have this beautiful palette to work from,
Right.
you know? That was a little bit of a long-winded response.
Well, but I think it's a valid response. You know, we want to learn about the way the voice works, but then when we get that great information, we want to share it.
Yeah,
So teaching seems like the obvious way to do that.
right.
What kinds of students do you have?
You know, it's really interesting. My students have cycled, you know, over the course of the years that I've taught. Right now I have a mix of people who are professionals, who are about to go on tour and have never sung more than, you know, recording their album. Because that's what happens nowadays,
Yeah.
right? I made a whole album and I have no idea how to sing it. So I have a bunch of people who are like
funny.
that, and it's not their fault,
No,
you know, but
no.
they want a crash course in like, how do I
Right.
not lose my voice?
Right.
So I have a handful of people like that. And then I teach middle and high school during the year, private lessons. And then a group that I absolutely love to teach are people who might not ever sing publicly,
Right.
maybe karaoke or at someone's birthday party.
Yeah.
But they are just so curious about feeling comfortable singing, and we just have the most fun in those lessons. Just true exploration of people who have been afraid to sing and really want to get over that fear. And I think it taps into, you know, for me, it goes right to my heart of being afraid to be a singer, even though I knew I could sing.
Yeah.
And so I have so much compassion and empathy and the tools to teach.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wonderful to be able to help somebody discover an aspect of themselves that's right there that they don't know.
Yes.
And invite them to kind of meet their voice and become friends with their voice. I think that's fabulous. And I think as a teacher, it gives us an opportunity to constantly remember what it was like to discover all that for ourselves.
Oh, yes.
And sometimes you get some breakthroughs that just are mind-boggling.
Oh, yeah.
You know, memories that you can never explain. It just so meaningful. So what are you doing right now? You're going back into the studio, you say. So what are you going to work on in the next album?
My next album. Well, I have not made an official released recording since 2008. So it's a
Oh.
decade.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Estuary has been recorded on video, but I actually never went into the studio to record that. So that's one project that I will get that all down.
Okay.
But I've been writing. I've been writing so much new music, and I actually got the opportunity to go to the North Fork of Long Island. I was remembering where I was.
Yeah.
And spend a week during the winter on the beach in a little hotel with a computer and a microphone and a keyboard and a notebook.
Wow.
And I wrote every day. I vocalized every day. I wrote every day. I meditated every day.
And you didn't freeze to death?
I had a parka. There was heat. I had a parka. But it was, I've realized that I have this relationship with the water. Estuary really pushed me into it. But then I thought, I had this opportunity to sit there and listen to the sea. I was there during one of those huge storms.
Oh, gosh.
And it was just glorious.
Oh, I bet.
And all this music has water in it.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm just so excited to put it down and have it recorded. And it's a little different than my last batch.
Yeah.
I don't know if I know the truth about suffering anymore, or maybe I've gone deeper into it. But I'm just so ready to put this forward because it feels like I've tapped into something that's me. It's a real extension of me.
Yeah. Well, all of us that are dependent upon our own creative resources are always looking to go to the next place and to deepen our awareness so that we can bring that out in our own unique way.
Yeah.
I think it's really important. Anyway, it's time for us to wrap up.
Wow.
And I have to say thank you so much, Jamie. It's been a delight to have you here.
It has been a real pleasure to be here with you.
I hope that our audience really enjoys it. This is a program about voice. Your voice is important too. We want you to enjoy your voice and get to know it like Jamie just suggested. And we'll be having more interesting, wonderful voice people in future shows. So we invite you to continue to watch. Thanks a lot. See you soon.